This is the Game Changers Experience. Deep dive conversations with leading business disruptors, Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers from around the world. This show will teach you insights about the winning principles in mindset, productivity, marketing, branding, entrepreneurship, business strategy, and more. Hosted by Productivity Authority, business strategist, former elite athlete, author, and public speaker, Adam Strong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Game Changers Experience live show with myself, Adam Strong. Hope you're well today. Today's conversation is all about how to improve your brand through awards, accolades, and endorsements. So if you listen to my previous show, we talked a little bit about personal branding from a relational capital perspective. Today, we're going to take it at a slightly different angle and talk about awards, accolades, and endorsements. So for you guys that are listening to me live, do me a favor, use the hashtag live, use the hashtag replay. That would be super awesome. And if you are listening, if you're listening to below, love to hear from you guys. Please do me a favor, PLC, post or comment. If anything resonates with you, or if you feel like, you know, someone would really benefit from listening to some of the content that I create, then do me a favor, please do tag them. I would really greatly appreciate that. Again, we want to make this podcast as impactful as we can. If you're listening to this, obviously on the recording, on the podcast, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Google, etc., then we're going to put all the show notes together at the bottom, and we're going to go from there. So let's get into today's conversation, because I'm excited about I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about today, because let's get straight into it, because I want to kind of like share with you, you know, we covered a lot, you know, on the other show with regards to kind of relational branding, and we're going to a slightly different angle here. So I want you to imagine, right? So I want you to imagine that you have a prospect, and now your prospects in the market for whatever it is that you're offering. So say, for example, they're in the market for looking for a web designer or an SEO specialist, a consultant, a lawyer, whatever it might be, whatever your specialism is, okay? They're in the market for getting what you have on offer. However, in every industry, I don't care who you are or what you do, you're going to have competitors in what you do, right? So then your prospect's they're going to be confronted they're going to be in a dilemma. So there's going to be your competitor, and then there's going to be you. Okay. Now, if we was to put both companies side by side, or both people side by side, okay, you both had the same experience, the same knowledge, you'd work with similar clients or similar experiences, and there wasn't really any real big differences between the two, okay? But the big thing that makes a real big difference is changing the perceptional reality of how you are different from your competitors, okay? Now, the way that you can do that is through awards, okay? Now, it's interesting because I've had conversations with entrepreneurs and business owners before, and some of them aren't really that bothered around getting an award, right? It doesn't mean anything to them. But my question to you is, okay, maybe it has no resonance with you. It doesn't resonate with you, for example, but it's not about you. It's about your prospects and their perceptional reality of you as a person. Okay. So, you know, if I had the choice between working with two different companies or people which had, you know, similarities in their areas of expertise, I'm going to choose the one that is award winning, right? You're going to choose the award winning. Your prospects are going to choose the award winning ones because they want to work with the best. They want to work the ones which has, you know, great credibility, great social proof. That is what's going to give you an edge in the marketplace. So I really kind of want you to think about that, or, you know, in terms of perceptual reality. It's not about you. It's about your prospects. okay, and about how they feel about you and what they think about you, if that makes sense. So I think that this is extremely important, right? It's really, really important. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide about how you can go about applying for or getting nominated for awards, because some of the things that we've done that in our business, including myself and some of our clients. You know, they've either won awards or they've become nominated, or even if they've got some recognition. And there's some there's some best case, worst case scenarios type of thing with regards to awards. So in terms of a step-by-step guide about applying for awards, well, first of all, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There are gonna be some sort of award on a local or national level. It just depends. So I want you to number one, I want you to do some research. So go into Google. So if you're in, say, I don't know, say you're an estate agent, for example, okay, and lots of estate agents out there, right? So again, what's going to be the big difference between the homeowner that's going to use your services and some other estate agent? Okay. So, in terms of like research, it's really important that you can go into Google, okay, and type in awards for estate agents, okay, and I'll guarantee you they'll make a full list of all the different types of awards in your given industry, okay. So that's the first thing, is do that research, find out what relevancy it has with regards to your industry. So I always go after what was going to say to you. You could go after so there is a different type. Some different angles that you can go here. Industry specific awards are really good start, because obviously they're going to help you stand out from the rest. Then you've got like local awards, and then you've also got national awards. So like some of the big heavy hitters that are out there. There are organizations out there such as the British or UK awards, I believe. It was one that we applied for last year, actually. You've got podcasting awards. You've got so many different types of awards, but like I said, do the research, do the due diligence in terms of that. That's the first thing. Second thing is to create a template. So a lot of these awards, when you apply for them, even if you're nominated or whatever it is, they want to know specific types of questions with regards to that. So create yourself a template, because a lot of these awards are going to ask the same question. So it's good to have a template. Then effectively you can copy and paste and tweak as you go along. So number three, some of the questions that they will ask you is, what have you achieved? What have you achieved in terms of like your company, yourself, or whatever it is? What is it that you guys have achieved in your given industry? So that's the first thing. Secondly is, why you? Why are you so special? Why should you be given the award and not somebody else? Right. So again, that's going to be a really good question, right? So what have you got in terms of artillery, in terms of like, what is it that you can back up your claim with? Is it that you've got X amount of case studies, or is it that you've created a new piece of a new software? What is it? What's the big breakthrough? What's the reason why you should be given that award? Okay, so why you? And the last one is, why is it important to you? Again, it's kind of going back to a personal question. Those three main questions are always going to be an award when it comes to nominations, and also to when it comes to applying for it. Okay. So what is it that you've achieved? Why should it be you that wins the award? Okay. And what will it mean to you if you did win the award? Okay. So I think that those three things are extremely important. So that's important. Number four, the great thing about nomination or applying for awards is that you get a hell load of free press. Okay. Everyone loves free press, and that's good for your brand, because it means that you can piggyback off of the awards and the event organizers. Effectively, it's going to give you some amazing press. So, supporting the press in terms of like, if you've been nominated, and sharing and tagging, people. That's really going to help really, again, elevate your brand as well. The other thing I was going to say is it's free social media marketing as well, right? If you've got people on Twitter sharing, raving about how wonderful you are, about the fact that you got nominated, right? That's a win-win situation. Do you see what I mean? That's a real big win-win situation. So step number 1 is research. Step number 2 is create templates. Step number 3, anticipate questions. Number 4, pitch. Okay, make sure you've got a really good pitch. And number 5, what is that USP? Okay, so that's really important. So that's how to apply for awards, get nominated, and go after national, local, and specific industry types of awards. That's awards. The next thing is endorsements. Now, this is a really good thing. I'm going to give you guys some tips around endorsements here, because the great thing about tips now, say for example, you were a fashion retailer, and you had just designed a new pair of trainers, new pair of sneakers, or whatever it might be. Okay. Now there's a lot of trainers and sneakers out there, right? So many different brands. The question is how is that brand going to stand out from every other brand? Okay. Could you effectively could you approach a celebrity? Could you approach someone that has huge amounts of followers and influence? And could you piggyback off their brand? That's the big question, right? And so what you could do, and again, this is just an idea, is you would pitch them, right? You would pitch them the idea. You'd send them maybe a sample of whatever it is that you've created in exchange for that testimonial or in exchange for that endorsement, okay? But the great thing about that is then your reach, even though your reach may be quite small right now, because you're piggybacking off of an influencer or a celebrity or a thought leader in your industry, you're able to then get so much more visibility through that. So getting endorsements, you can imagine, right? So say, for example, if you're in the leadership game, okay, imagine getting endorsed by someone like Sir Richard Branson. Think of what that would do to your brand. Who wouldn't want to get endorsed by Sir Richard Branson? Okay. Who wouldn't want to get endorsed by any thought leader, influencer in your given industry? Because if you think about it, again, if you're getting those types of endorsements, okay, it sets you apart from everybody else. One of our, as some of you guys know, we had, I published a best-selling book called Play the Game, and I did a co-collaboration with 17 other business owners. And we had a huge endorsement. In fact, we had 3 big endorsements from that book that made it completely stand out and become a #1 bestseller. Number 1 was through my good friend, Marshall Goldsmith. He's the #1 executive coach in the world, a real juggernaut in our industry. Chester Elton, he's a 5 times New York Times bestselling author, a really good friend of mine. And again, another big juggernaut in the corporate space. And we had a few other big endorsements as well of the book. So that to me really made it stand out in terms of the book, but also helps individuals stand out as well as part of that. And that's just a really good, again, a really good angle that you can kind of take it a little bit. The book alone isn't going to make it enough in terms of building your brand, but when you get endorsements and testimonials from people, my really good friend, Simon Alexander-Ong, who wrote the book called Energize, he had a huge amount of endorsements. And that's why he's able to speak on some of the biggest stages and get paid as a corporate speaker to get that, and has had huge amounts of free press and credibility. Yes, he got his book published through Penguin, but he's a really good example of being able to piggyback off of people's brands. Another great example, and I think I mentioned this actually on a previous show, when we were putting together an event, is having big celebrities. So people like Dr. John Demartini, who's a personal friend, Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, 57 times New York Times bestselling author. He endorsed our event because he was part of our event. So those gentlemen gave some amazing testimonials. And again, what that does is it helps create that social proof. It really helps set you apart from everything else that's out there. So guys, if you are really looking to create, if you're really looking to change the self-perceptional reality of your personal brand, if you're looking to enhance your credibility, if you're looking to stamp your authority in your niche or industry, okay, think of how you can really get an edge in the marketplace, right? Think of how you could use awards, accolades, and endorsements, as a way to be able to give you that edge in the marketplace, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to give you a big shout out to a few people here that are listening to me. Big hi to Jamie, Sarah, of course, and a few others as well that we've got here. If you are liking what I'm talking about, by the way, please do me a favor. PLC, post like or comment on the comment section below. Tag anyone that you feel this particular episode would benefit of. So that would be super awesome. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you guys. If this is helping, if this is really helping you, okay, and it's resonating with you, I'd love to hear from you, okay? So listen, enough from me. Hope you've enjoyed today's episode. And yeah, well, I'm going to be back on here and doing more live shows, of course. And please do connect with me over on LinkedIn as well. And just one other thing before you go as well. I put a link below as well. Imagine being able to know how to get an edge in the marketplace, okay? Imagine being able to know how to improve your business, okay, in a particular area, whether it be leadership, whether it be marketing or whatever it is. Imagine being able to know that. What sort of knowledge, what sort of value would that be of use to you? And you can really get what I call a top-down perspective about how you can do that. So we've created a business growth quiz. I mentioned this actually in previous shows. If you go to, I was going to say how to grow a business.scoreup.com, you can take the business growth quiz. It'll take around 3 minutes. Okay. And at the end, it will give you an analogy. It will give you a breakdown of some of the areas that you're doing well in your business and some of the areas that you're not doing so well in the business, and you need to make some improvements to. But I feel like it will give some great value to you guys that are listening in, more than importantly. So do yourselves a favor, jump on that. You've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. Anyway, listen, hope you've enjoyed today's show. Hope to hear from you guys soon, and take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.